The colony's desperation. In a remote corner of the galaxy, nestled within a cluster of stars that twinkled like diamonds against a velvet backdrop, lay the Tellurian colony on a planet known as Viridian 7. Once a thriving settlement filled with laughter and life, it had become a shadow of its former self. The lush green fields that once fed its inhabitants had turned barren, and the vibrant colors of their homes faded into muted grays. For 6 long cycles, the Tellurian people had endured unimaginable suffering at the hands of ruthless space pirates who sought to strip them of their resources. The distress signal had been sent out in desperation, a faint cry echoing through the cosmos. It was a simple message, repeated over and over. "Help us. We are in danger." But as days turned into weeks, hope began to wane among the inhabitants. Children cried from hunger, mothers wept silently for their lost loved ones, and fathers could do little more than stare into the void, wondering if anyone would hear their plea. Glimmer of hope. Just when despair threatened to consume them entirely, something extraordinary happened. One evening, as dusk settled over Viridian 7, a brilliant light pierced through the darkness. It was unlike anything they had seen before. A massive vessel descended from the heavens, its metallic surface reflecting hues of orange and gold as it approached. For a moment, fear gripped the hearts of the Tellurian. They had heard tales of monstrous beings that roamed the stars, but as it landed with a thud that shook the ground beneath them, curiosity began to replace dread. The ship bore markings that were unfamiliar yet strangely inviting. It was adorned with symbols that hinted at its purpose, a vessel not for conquest but for aid. As they gathered cautiously around it, they could see figures emerging from its belly, humans, tall and imposing. These creatures moved with an air of confidence that both intimidated and intrigued the Tellurian. First contact. Captain Darius Flynn stepped down from his ship, TCR Babylon, his presence commanding immediate attention. His dark skin glistened under the fading light, contrasting sharply with his pale uniform emblazoned with insignia that spoke of honor and duty. As he surveyed the crowd before him, thin bodies with sunken eyes, his heart sank at their plight. "My name is Captain Darius Flynn," he announced in a deep voice that resonated through the air like thunder. "We received your distress signal and came as soon as we could." Dick, a young Tellurian mother who stood at the forefront, felt her heart race as she looked up at him. She had heard stories about humans, fearsome warriors capable of great destruction. But there was something different about this one. His eyes held compassion rather than malice. "We are here to help," he continued, gesturing toward his crew who began unloading supplies from the ship. "We have food and medical supplies. We will get you to safety." The weight of fear, despite his words offering hope, Dick's instincts screamed caution. She had witnessed too much violence to trust easily. Her people were vulnerable now more than ever. Yet as she looked around at her fellow refugees, children clinging to their mothers' legs, elders leaning on each other for support, she knew they had little choice. "Will you really help us?" she asked hesitantly. Captain Flynn knelt down to meet her gaze directly. "I promise you," he said firmly, "not one soul will be left behind." As Dick processed his words, she felt an unfamiliar warmth spreading through her chest. Flicker of hope igniting in her heart amidst so much despair. The evacuation begins. With urgency now fueling their actions, Captain Flynn organized his crew into teams tasked with evacuating the Tellurian refugees. They worked tirelessly through the night. Humans lifted families onto their shoulders with ease while others distributed rations among those too weak to stand. Dick watched as her children were handed food for the first time in cycles, their eyes wide with disbelief as they took bites of fresh fruit that burst with flavor. She felt tears prickling at her eyes. It was hard to believe they were finally being rescued from this nightmare. As dawn broke over Viridian 7, casting golden rays across the barren landscape, Captain Flynn gathered everyone together once more. "We need to move quickly," he urged them. The pirates may return at any moment. The urgency in his voice propelled them forward. One by one, families climbed aboard TCR Babylon's cargo bay, a space that seemed impossibly vast compared to their cramped homes back on Viridian 7. A new journey. Inside the ship was unlike anything Dick had ever imagined. Metal walls gleamed under bright lights while strange machines hummed softly in the background. As she settled down with her children among other refugees, she couldn't shake off her unease completely, even in this sanctuary among giants who promised safety. But just as she began to relax slightly amid her people's chatter about what lay ahead, a sudden jolt rocked them all violently against one another, followed by alarms blaring throughout TCR Babylon. "Captain," shouted one crew member urgently as he rushed toward Flynn's side. "Status report," Flynn barked back while scanning their surroundings for threats. "Scanners indicate multiple ships approaching fast. It's likely they're pirates." Facing danger, panic surged through Dick's veins. She clutched her children tightly against her chest while fear clawed at her throat like an unrelenting beast ready to devour them whole. Captain Flynn's expression hardened as he turned back toward his crew members, his voice steady despite impending danger. "Prepare for battle. We will not let them take our new friends." As alarms blared louder around them, signaling imminent danger ahead, Dick couldn't help but feel torn between gratitude for rescue yet dread at what lay before them now. An uncertain future filled with peril lurking just outside these metal walls. Preparing for evacuation. The atmosphere inside TCR Babylon was tense as the crew prepared for the impending threat of the pirates. Captain Darius Flynn stood at the command center, his brow furrowed in concentration as he reviewed the latest scans of the surrounding space. The Tlurin refugees, still reeling from their harrowing experiences, were gathered in a makeshift communal area, their eyes wide with a mix of hope and fear. "All right, team," Flynn called out, his voice steady and authoritative. "We have limited time before those pirates arrive. We need to get as many of these people on board and secured as possible. Friss, you're on logistics. Make sure we have enough supplies ready for the refugees." Friss Tillentuck, the ship's operator and a member of the Cheetan species, nodded vigorously. His chittering voice echoed through the command center. "I will coordinate with the medical team to ensure we have food and medical supplies ready. We must prioritize their well-being." Meanwhile, Dick watched from her spot among the other Tlurin as humans moved with purpose around the ship. She felt a strange mix of gratitude and anxiety. These beings were here to help them, yet they were also so different, so powerful. As she clutched her children close, she couldn't shake off the feeling that they were stepping into an unknown world. The first wave of refugees. As preparations continued, Captain Flynn directed his crew to begin the evacuation process. They had established a system to transport families in waves to avoid chaos. The first group consisted of those most vulnerable, elderly individuals and families with young children. "Let's move quickly but calmly," Flynn instructed his crew as they approached the Tlurin crowd. "We'll form a line and guide you to the cargo bay." Dick felt her heart race as she watched her neighbors being led toward the ship. She exchanged glances with Brun, another mother who had been by her side throughout their ordeal. "We'll get through this," Brun whispered, trying to reassure Dick despite her own fears. As they reached the entrance of TCR Babylon, Dick was struck by how different it felt inside compared to their home on Viridian 7. The walls were cold metal, but there was a sense of order and safety that enveloped them. Crew members greeted them with warm smiles and offered assistance. "Welcome aboard," one human said cheerfully as he helped lift a child into his arms. "We're going to take good care of you." The challenge of trust. Despite the kindness shown by the humans, Dick struggled to trust them completely. She had heard stories of humans from other colonies, tales filled with both heroism and horror. How could she reconcile these two images? As she settled into a corner with her children, she observed Captain Flynn interacting with other refugees. "Stay close to your families," he urged them gently, his deep voice resonating with authority yet laced with compassion. "We'll make sure everyone is safe." Dick noticed how he seemed to genuinely care for each individual he spoke to. It was a stark contrast to how they had been treated by pirates who saw them only as prey. "Why are they helping us?" Dick asked Brun quietly as they watched Flynn work. Brun shrugged, her eyes reflecting uncertainty. "Perhaps they see our suffering and wish to do something good, or maybe they want something from us." Dick nodded thoughtfully, but pushed aside her doubts for now. Survival was their priority. Medical assistance. As more refugees boarded TCR Babylon, medical personnel began assessing those who needed immediate attention. Dick's heart sank when she saw several injured children being carried in on stretchers, some barely conscious from starvation or injuries sustained during pirate attacks. A human medic approached Dick with a gentle smile. "Hello there. I'm Nurse Jenna," she said warmly. "How are your little ones doing?" "They are scared," Dick admitted honestly, glancing down at her children who clung tightly to her side. "We'll take good care of them," Jenna assured her while kneeling down to their level. "I have special nutritional packs that will help them regain their strength." As Jenna handed Dick small packets filled with colorful paste-like food, she felt a wave of relief wash over her. It wasn't much, but it was something. A lifeline in this moment of chaos. Communication breakdown. While most children were grateful for the help, some remained skeptical about their new human allies. A group of elders huddled together in quiet conversation, their expressions grave. "What if this is all a trap?" one elder whispered harshly to another. "They could be leading us into danger," another added anxiously. Dick overheard snippets of their conversation and felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She wanted to believe in Captain Flynn and his crew's intentions, but couldn't shake off the lingering doubts that plagued her people. Just then, Captain Flynn approached them again, sensing their unease. "I understand your concerns," he said sincerely, "but I promise you, we are here to help you find safety." One elder stepped forward defiantly. "And what do you gain from this? What do humans want from us?" Flynn met his gaze steadily without flinching. "Nothing more than your safety and well-being," he replied firmly. "We are bound by our codes of conduct. Helping those in need is part of who we are." The pirates' arrival. As more children boarded TCR Babylon and settled into temporary quarters, tension mounted aboard the ship when an alarm blared suddenly throughout its corridors. "Captain, multiple ships detected approaching fast." One crew member shouted urgently from his station. Flynn's expression hardened instantly as he turned toward his crew. "All hands on deck. Prepare for potential combat." Dick's heart raced as fear gripped her once more. She could feel it in the air, the palpable dread that hung heavy over everyone aboard TCR Babylon. "Mommy," Cly whimpered softly beside her. "Sure, it's okay," Dick whispered back soothingly while holding him close against her chest. But deep down inside, she couldn't shake off the feeling that danger was looming just outside those metal walls. The pirates would not let them escape easily. Call to action. With urgency fueling their movements, Captain Flynn organized his crew into defensive positions while ensuring that all refugees were secured below deck away from potential crossfire. "Thruss, coordinate our defenses," Flynn commanded as he took charge of operations on deck. "Yes, Captain," Thruss responded immediately while scurrying off to relay orders among crew members stationed at various weapon systems around the ship. Meanwhile, Dick felt helpless watching everything unfold around her. She wished there was something more she could do than just wait anxiously for news about what would happen next. Suddenly, another alarm blared, a warning that sent chills down everyone's spine. "Incoming fire detected. Brace for impact," Flynn shouted over the chaos as explosions rocked TCR Babylon violently beneath them. Facing their fears, Dick clutched Cly tightly while Flo buried her face against Dick's shoulder, both children trembling uncontrollably from fear as sounds echoed around them like thunderous roars shaking their very core. In that moment, amidst chaos unfolding outside, Dick realized something profound. They had come so far already. They could not allow fear to consume them now when hope finally seemed within reach. "We will survive this," Dick declared fiercely, his spike trembling herself. Determination coursed through every fiber of her being like fire igniting within darkness surrounding them all. Her words resonated through others nearby. Slowly heads began nodding affirmatively until murmurs spread among fellow refugees, echoing sentiments shared. A collective resolve forming amidst uncertainty ahead. As blasts continued rattling throughout TCR Babylon, their sanctuary turned battlefield, Dick held on to hope tightly, knowing that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together at a safe haven. The chaos of the battle had subsided, but the tension aboard TCR Babylon remained palpable. The Tlurin refugees, still reeling from their harrowing escape, were now faced with the reality of their new surroundings. Captain Darius Flynn had successfully led them away from Viridian 7, and they were now en route to a safe haven, a planet in the nearby Fel system that had graciously agreed to shelter them. As the ship glided through the vastness of space, Dick sat with her children in the communal quarters, surrounded by fellow refugees. The metallic walls of TCR Babylon felt foreign yet strangely comforting. It was a sanctuary away from the horrors they had endured. Dick watched as her children played quietly with other young Tlurin, their laughter a sweet sound that momentarily eased her worries. "Are we really safe now?" Cly asked, his big eyes searching his mother's face for reassurance. Dick smiled softly, brushing her fingers through his hair. "Yes, my love. The humans are here to protect us. We will reach our new home soon." She glanced around the room, observing how her people were beginning to settle in. Some Tlurin were sharing stories of their past lives on Viridian 7, while others were simply trying to find comfort in each other's presence. Dick felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. Perhaps this was the beginning of a new chapter for them. Cultural exchange. Once they arrived at their destination, Captain Flynn organized a meeting between the Tlurin leaders and the local government representatives of the Fel system. Dick and several other elders gathered in a large conference room aboard TCR Babylon, where they would discuss their future. The room was filled with humans, some wearing uniforms while others donned civilian attire. Dick felt both intimidated and grateful as she took her seat at the long table. Captain Flynn stood at the head, exuding confidence as he introduced everyone. "Thank you all for being here today," he began, his voice steady and reassuring. "We have brought the Tlurin refugees to your planet for safety and assistance. They have endured unimaginable hardships, and it is our duty to ensure they find peace here." Dick listened attentively as representatives from the Fel system spoke about their resources and how they could help integrate the Tlurin into their society. There were discussions about housing, food supplies, and medical care, everything that would be necessary for starting anew. "Your people are welcome here," one representative said warmly. "We believe that diversity enriches our culture, and we are eager to learn from each other." Dick felt a swell of gratitude at those words. Perhaps this truly was a chance for her people to thrive once more, exploring their new environment. After the meeting concluded, Captain Flynn led a tour of their new home on Fel Prime, a lush planet filled with vibrant greenery and towering mountains that kissed the sky. Dick marveled at the beauty surrounding her. It was a stark contrast to the barren landscape of Viridian 7. As they walked through a bustling market filled with colorful stalls selling exotic fruits and handmade crafts, Dick couldn't help but feel overwhelmed by all the sights and sounds. Humans mingled with other alien species, each unique yet united in their pursuit of community. "Look at that," Cly exclaimed, pointing excitedly at a vendor selling sparkling fruits that glimmered like jewels under the sun. Dick smiled at her son's enthusiasm as she knelt beside him. "Shall we try some?" With cautious excitement, they approached the stall where an elderly vendor welcomed them with open arms. "Welcome. Would you like to taste some zilberries? They are sweet and refreshing." Dick accepted a small sample from the vendor's outstretched hand and watched as Clyde took his first bite. His eyes lit up with delight as he savored the flavor. "This is amazing," he declared, grinning from ear to ear. As Dick joined in tasting the zilberries, she felt a sense of normalcy returning, a feeling she thought had been lost forever during their time of suffering. Building relationships. Over time, relationships began to form between humans and Chlorine. Captain Flynn encouraged cultural exchanges. He believed that understanding each other's customs would foster unity among them. One afternoon, Dick found herself participating in a cooking class alongside some human families eager to learn about Chlorine cuisine. As she demonstrated how to prepare traditional dishes using local ingredients from Fel Prime, laughter filled the air as everyone tried their hand at cooking together. "This is delicious," one human exclaimed after tasting Dick's famous root stew. "I never knew food could be so flavorful." Dick beamed with pride. Sharing her culture brought her joy amidst all that had happened. She realized that despite their differences, food had a way of connecting them all, bridging gaps between species through shared experiences. Conflicts arise. However, not everything was smooth sailing in this new environment. As time passed, misunderstandings began to surface between Chlorine and humans due to cultural differences. One evening during a community gathering, meant to celebrate their newfound friendship, tensions flared when some Chlorine misinterpreted human gestures as threats. A simple wave turned into panic when an elder mistook it for an aggressive movement. Chaos erupted as voices raised in confusion. Captain Flynn quickly intervened, his calm demeanor soothing frayed nerves. "Everyone, let's take a moment to breathe," he urged gently. "We are all learning together." Dick felt her heart race as she watched him address both sides, his presence commanding respect without resorting to anger or fear tactics. Slowly but surely, order was restored as explanations were exchanged about cultural norms. Finding common ground. In light of these misunderstandings, Captain Flynn proposed regular meetings where both communities could share stories and learn about each other's traditions more deeply. Dick volunteered to lead discussions about Chlorine culture while human representatives would share aspects of their own heritage. As weeks went by, these gatherings became more than just educational sessions. They blossomed into celebrations filled with music, dance, and laughter that resonated through both communities' hearts. One evening, under a starlit sky illuminated by two moons hanging low above them, the first joint festival took place, the Festival of Unity. Both species came together in celebration. Chlorine danced gracefully, while humans joined in with clumsy enthusiasm. It was beautiful chaos that embodied acceptance and joy. A growing bond. As Dick looked around at smiling faces, both familiar and new, she felt an overwhelming sense of belonging wash over her like warm sunlight breaking through clouds after rainstorms had passed. In this moment, she realized something profound. Despite their struggles, they were not alone anymore. Together they forged bonds stronger than any fear or prejudice could ever break. With every shared laugh echoed across generations, their resilience shone brightly against adversity, reminding them all that hope exists even amidst darkness. The calm before the storm. The days following the Festival of Unity were filled with laughter and learning, as the Chlorine and humans continued to bond over shared experiences. Dick felt a sense of peace that she hadn't known in cycles. The children played together, their laughter echoing through the communal quarters of TCR Babylon, while adults exchanged recipes and stories of their pasts. However, beneath this newfound harmony lay an undercurrent of tension. Captain Darius Flynn remained vigilant, aware that their safety was not guaranteed. The pirates who had terrorized the Chlorine were still out there, and he knew it was only a matter of time before they would come looking for revenge. One afternoon, as Dick helped prepare a meal for the children, she overheard a conversation between Captain Flynn and Thriss, the Cheatin ship operator. Their voices were low but urgent. "Captain, we've received reports from nearby systems," Thriss said, his chittering voice filled with concern. "The pirates have regrouped and are actively searching for us." Flynn's expression darkened. "We need to fortify our defenses." I want patrols established around the perimeter of our camp on Fel Prime. We can't let them catch us off guard. Dick's heart raced at the mention of pirates. She remembered all too well the fear they had instilled in her people. She turned to Brun, who was sitting nearby with her children. "What do you think will happen if they find us?" Dick asked, her voice trembling slightly. Brun shook her head, her expression grave. "I don't know, but we must trust Captain Flynn and his crew. They've done so much for us already." A warning from above. As evening fell over Fel Prime, Dick joined her fellow refugees outside to enjoy the cool breeze that swept across the landscape. The sky was painted in hues of orange and purple as the sun dipped below the horizon. It was a beautiful sight, one that reminded her of home. Suddenly, a loud siren blared from TCR Babylon, cutting through the tranquility like a knife. Dick's heart dropped as she looked toward the ship, where crew members rushed about in a frenzy. "Everyone inside, now!" a human shouted urgently. Panic surged through Dick as she grabbed Cly and Flo by their hands. "Come on, we need to go," she urged them, her voice rising above the chaos. As they hurried back into the ship with other refugees, Dick could see Captain Flynn at the entrance, directing everyone inside with calm authority despite the urgency of the situation. "Stay together. We'll keep you safe," he called out as he ushered them into the cargo bay. Once inside, Dick could hear Thriss's voice crackling over the intercom. "All crew members to battle stations. Prepare for potential engagement. The pirates arrive." Dick's stomach twisted with fear as she clutched her children close to her chest. The reality of their situation hit her hard. They were no longer safe in this new home. "Mommy, what's happening?" Cly asked, his voice small and frightened. "Just stay close to me," Dick replied, trying to sound brave even though her heart raced with anxiety. Moments later, alarms blared throughout TCR Babylon as red lights flashed ominously overhead. Captain Flynn stood at the front of the cargo bay, his presence commanding attention as he addressed everyone. "Listen up. We have confirmed sightings of pirate ships approaching our location," he announced firmly. "I need all Chlorin to remain calm and stay in this area while we prepare for defense." Dick watched as crew members moved quickly to arm themselves with weapons that glinted under the harsh lights of the cargo bay. She felt a mix of fear and admiration for these humans who had come to their aid. They were ready to fight for them without hesitation. The plan in motion. As tension mounted within TCR Babylon, Captain Flynn gathered his crew for a quick briefing on their defensive strategy. "Thriss," he began, "I need you to coordinate with our navigation systems and plot an escape route in case we need to leave quickly." "Yes, Captain," Thriss replied eagerly as he scurried off to his station. "Marines," Flynn continued, addressing those armed with weapons, "you'll be stationed at key points around the ship to protect both our crew and refugees. We will not let these pirates take what we fought so hard to build here." Dick felt a surge of determination wash over her. These humans were ready to stand against their enemies. She turned to Brun and whispered urgently, "We need to help them somehow." Brun nodded fervently. "But how? We're not fighters." Dick thought for a moment before an idea struck her. "We can assist by keeping everyone calm and organized. If we can help manage things here while they focus on defense." Brun smiled at Dick's suggestion. It was a plan they could execute together. Rallying together, with renewed purpose, Dick and Brun began organizing fellow refugees into groups, some tending to children while others helped distribute food supplies in case they needed sustenance during a prolonged standoff. "Everyone stay close," Dick called out as she moved through the crowd. "We're going to get through this together." As fear began to dissipate slightly among those present, thanks in part to their efforts, Captain Flynn re-entered their space with urgency etched across his face. "We've got incoming ships," he shouted as he glanced around at everyone gathered anxiously within TCR Babylon's cargo bay. Dick felt her heart race again. She could hear distant sounds of engines roaring outside, a reminder that danger was closing in fast. The battle begins. Suddenly, TCR Babylon shook violently as blasts echoed around them. The unmistakable sound of laser fire resonating through metal walls like thunderclaps shaking foundations beneath them. "Take cover," Flynn commanded while rushing toward his battle station alongside his crew members who prepared themselves for combat against whatever threat lay beyond those doors. Dick instinctively pulled Cly and Flo closer against her side while trying desperately not to panic amidst chaos unfolding around them. "We'll be okay," she whispered softly into their ears, even though uncertainty gnawed at her insides like hungry wolves stalking prey in shadows unseen. As blasts continued shaking TCR Babylon, their sanctuary turned battlefield, Dick held on to hope tightly, knowing that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together.